So let's talk about PayPal. They recently had their earnings report and the share price went down 12%. We're going to find out why that happened and what I plan on doing with the stock. This is actually one of the stocks I hold in my portfolio. Now we're going to be using the 4M checklist. We'll start with Tykr, which does that first M for us. That's the margin of safety. That's everything math related, does it automatically. And then we'll dive into the meaning, moat, and management. If you can do all four, you really de-risk your investment and increase your probability of making money. All right, let's dive in. So before we talk about why the share price decreased, we're going to start with the math here. Right in Tykr, you can see they are overpriced. The score is a 44 out of 100 and the margin of safety is 0. So that does not look good. We ideally like to see stocks that are green. They have an on sale rating. They have a score of 50. On sale essentially is 50 points or higher and a margin of safety of 50 or higher. Most stocks do fall into the watch or overpriced category, so hitting on sale is a little more difficult. But anyway, it doesn't look too good there. Doesn't mean I should sell because, again, we're looking at all four M's. But let's take a closer look at the financials. So going to the financial statements, this is how Tykr works, is it analyzes 5 years on the income statement, cash flow statement, and balance sheet. So looking at the revenue, this looks really good. It's just year-over-year growth moving up and to the right. That's what we want. But then you get to net income and EPS, and that's where you can see there's an issue. The profitability starts to fall off. Now, net income and EPS are very similar. EPS, earnings per share, is just net income divided by outstanding shares. So usually when you see one, it's going to look somewhat similar. But then if you jump to the cash flow statements, you can see it's kind of flat, doesn't look horrible. With the balance sheet, the assets are increasing. Liabilities are increasing a little, which is okay. We like to see liabilities and debts decrease. Usually when liabilities increase, it's usually payroll. You're hiring more people, or you're adding more, let's say, manufacturing equipment if you have a large manufacturing business. Real estate as well in that case. You also have debt in this case. This is somewhat flat, which is okay, and equity flat as well. But the balance sheet doesn't look horrible. I've seen worse. And then the cash flow statement doesn't look too bad either. The problem is this income statement. Yes, the revenues are increasing, but that net income and EPS, seeing those numbers decline, that's a little bit of an issue, and we'll talk about the why here in a second. But first, let's jump into the meaning. We're going to move over to what is this business model. Now, I will say that, and some of you heard me say this before, top of the food chain would be SaaS, reoccurring revenue models with no inventory against it, like you think about Salesforce or Netflix or MailChimp, any kind of reoccurring revenue model. You can either be monthly or yearly. That's a great business model. It's highly scalable, but there's two business models that are superior. One would be payment processing. Now, payment processing business models or transaction fee models, there is no limit. Whereas, with SaaS, a customer is paying one price per month, whereas payment processing, the meter can just run, as they'd say. So you can have somebody making one payment, 10 payments, 100 payments, 1,000 payments, and that price is just going to, and those fees are just going to rack up. That's makes for a highly lucrative business model. So PayPal, Square, and other payment processing models are exactly that business model. The second most would be advertising plays. So think about Google and Facebook. Same thing. When businesses are spending money on ads, there's no limitations. They, of course, can create their own limitations, but you can just keep running that meter, and that's where the big bucks are really spent. So jumping back to PayPal, transaction fee models are highly scalable. In this case, PayPal's in over 200 countries and territories. I've loved this business for years for that reason alone. That's very hard to get set up in each country. You'll see here with the competition does not have that size of a footprint. All right, so let's jump into some of the consumer and business services. So buy now, pay later is really hot. You've got the ability to buy and sell crypto. You have you can send money to friends. You can send money overseas. There's currency conversions. There's also withdrawing to your bank account. 1 to 3 days, it's free, but immediately it's a fee. But a lot of the things I just described there, they have fees associated with those. And again, the meter just keeps running. It's a great business model. On the business side, very similar. You have accepting buy now, pay later. There's fees there. Accepting payments with PayPal, small fees there. Moving money to your bank account, again, fees as well. There's a lot of different transaction fees. They're small, so it's not creating pain for the consumer or the business. But when a lot of consumers and a lot of businesses are using the product, that's where the real money is made. Now, PayPal isn't just PayPal. They own a lot of businesses. Number one, top of the list, you have Venmo. So PayPal bought Venmo a few years back. Venmo was just added to Amazon recently. So those individuals making payments, Venmo's only allowed in the US right now, but that's a great channel partner in this case for PayPal. When you have a lot of people making purchases on Amazon, they're making a lot of money just on that alone. There's also buying and selling crypto with Venmo. A few other businesses in here. I'll kind of run down the list. You have Zoom. This is not the Zoom you think of for the conference tool. It's XOOM. It's a global money transfer service in 39 countries. And they have Braintree, which is a digital wallet in 45 countries. Now, the key thing there is 39 countries and 40 countries, whereas PayPal's in 200. This tells us that both Zoom and Braintree have room to scale to more countries. That creates, again, more scalability for PayPal. Going down the list, you also have Happy Returns, which is a return service that makes the experience better for both consumers and businesses. There's also Hyperwallet, which is a mass payment platform in 92 countries. You can send payments to not just one person, but multiple people at once. Honey, a platform I use, is just a Chrome extension. A great way to find deals. What's great is, let's say you find a deal, you go to, let's say, an e-commerce site, you make the purchase with PayPal. It's a great, pretty much a lead generator for PayPal. A few other platforms here, you have Paydi, which is a buy now, pay later platform in Asia. Simility, which is a fraud prevention system, and then you have Zettle, which is that's like point of sale. It's their looks like one of their hardware products. They don't have too many hardware products. They're highly focused on not software, but transaction fees. So overall, very impressive model. And all the businesses I own in my portfolio, one of the most robust platforms, especially in the payment space. Even Motley Fool classifies PayPal as a super app. Okay, so let's dive into the news. This is really where we find out what happened to this stock. So first off, there was good news, a lot of good news with earnings reports. With earnings reports, every quarter, you have the expected and then you have reported. And what happens is when a stock beats the expectations, the share price usually goes up. And if they miss, the share price usually goes down. It's not 100% of the time, but this is usually the trend. PayPal beat expectations on both EPS and revenue. EPS is most important. Analysts do look at revenue, but EPS is the key driver. That's what really causes share prices to go up and down. So they beat on both. That's great. The problem is, in that earnings call, they mentioned that margins could be lower over the next few quarters. So the share price tanked and 12% overnight. Wonderful. This happens. I've seen this happen before with PayPal. It's definitely an overreaction. This is a prediction. This is not what actually happened. It's a prediction of what could happen. Who knows? The market could really take off. And when that happens, a lot of cool things are going to happen. We're going to get into that in a second. So let's circle back to that income statement. Why did the net income and EPS decline? Well, there's really two reasons why. During the pandemic, e-commerce sales increased. A lot of people were staying home and doing a lot of purchases from their phone or their computer. And that was great for e-commerce. But since people are back out in the world, a lot of people are shopping at brick and mortar stores again, which is fine. E-commerce will always be a thing. It's not like it's going away. We're just seeing this correction in the other direction where people are, of course, buying things in stores. But in the future, as things go, e-commerce will continue to outpace the growth of brick and mortar. It's just the way it is. So that's reason one. Reason two would be when the market's hot, a lot of people are buying and selling crypto. We saw this. This is going back about 2 to 3 years. Almost 50% of Square's transactions were based on crypto. People getting into that app and buying and selling crypto. It's just incredible. So right now we've been in the dark ages with both stock trading. There's less people buying and selling stocks because we're in this bear market / recession, although we're coming out of it. And even to another level, a lot of people have stopped buying and selling crypto. That will change as the market rallies. A lot of people are going to flood back in. And guess what? We're going to see a lot of these coins start to take off, which means a lot of people are buying and selling on these platforms like PayPal, Square, Coinbase, the list goes on. But let's keep going here with some of the news. I found an article from February of this year where the CEO, Dan Schulman, scooped up $2 million worth of PayPal shares. This is, of course, before the most recent earnings report, but he has high conviction on where this business is going over the long term. This is not a trading play. This is an investing play. He has high conviction. He believes PayPal is going to be doing some amazing things in the future. So this is a really good sign when we see a CEO buying shares of the company they are leading. Next up, this is the big news I was really focused on. So everybody's talking about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. So PayPal plans on using artificial intelligence for, I've got 4 points here, but I'll go through 3 that are easier to understand. So number 1 would be when we're making transactions, we as consumers are making transactions on sites, and we run into a decline. Like these platforms need to do a better job of creating a remedy around that, making it, in other words, preventing people from dropping out of the payment process. So what PayPal is looking to do is prompt users to try other methods. So right there, when you're at your purchase, if something declines, here are other options. And to expand upon that, point 2 would be, a lot of businesses fail at this because they'll just say in red font, we've all seen this, payment declined. Well, what is the why? And give me an easy path forward, like actually give me a tool or a button or some prompt that allows me to make a successful payment. So unfortunately, a lot of businesses, there's that decline, there's the red font, payment declined, and then guess what? People don't do anything. They don't try anything. In some cases they do, but in most cases they do not, and they fall out of the process and they don't return to the site. So you want to catch these people at that specific point. And the third thing they'll use AI is fraud detection, and that'll be a benefit for both consumers and businesses. So this is a big win for PayPal. I really like to see the use of AI in this way, especially to prevent people from dropping out of the payment process. So let's talk about the moat. This is the competitive advantage. So again, PayPal is in 200 countries and territories. You also have Block or Square, which is in 9 countries. And you have Adyen, which is a payment processor based out of the Netherlands. They're in 62 countries. Now, if you do a Google search for competition of PayPal, you'll see that MasterCard, Visa, and American Express are probably listed. I would argue and say they are not competitors. They are more partners, because if you go to PayPal, guess what? You can use your Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. But there is a private company out there worth paying attention to, which is Stripe. Stripe is a solid platform. They've been growing quickly, and they are taking a little market share, but you shouldn't be too afraid. With that being said, there are a lot of payment processors in the world, but our population is growing extremely fast. We just crossed 8 billion people, and people love buying things. So a lot of these companies, they can continue to thrive, and I have strong conviction that PayPal will continue to grow, especially as they continue to buy other businesses, expand the revenue streams, especially if they're transaction fee based. So let's run through the 4 M's here just to summarize the video. Number 1, you have the margin of safety. That does not pass. As we talked about, we like to see stocks that are on sale. PayPal, unfortunately, is overpriced. But with the meaning, moat, and management, in my opinion, all 3 boxes check. Now, just to dive into management a little bit, Dan Schulman did announce that he will be stepping down from the CEO role at the end of the year. He will, though, join the board of directors, so he's still going to be involved, which is great. The question is, Who's going to replace him? Now, I think this is a great opportunity. I've seen this happen before. When you have shares that have been beaten down over and over and over, even though they are doing some good things, like they did beat expectations on that EPS and revenue, if that keeps happening, which we have seen with PayPal, what you want to do is you kind of want to shake things up in a good way, bring in new leadership, bring in a new name. You want to bring in a name, though, of somebody that's built previous businesses, has a winning track record, because that can give a lot of confidence to investors. And those are the exact conversations happening right now. I'm guessing if not by June or July, we could see an announcement definitely leading up to maybe mid quarter three, but probably not as late as quarter four. We have to see an announcement here soon. Who's going to be stepping into that new role? But again, overall, strong meaning, moat, and management. What do I plan on doing? Since I've been holding this stock, this is one of the first stocks, actually might be the first stock I ever bought years and years ago. I do plan on buying more. Now, I have a few other stocks in my portfolio. I will continue buying those as well. I'm not going to stockpile and just throw everything into this one. I'm not giving up on it. Now, in this case, if you're somebody that's saying, hey, I don't know if I still want to hold this, you have to remember rule 1. This is something from Warren Buffett. Rule 1, don't lose money. Rule 2, don't forget rule 1. What that essentially means is if you're down, don't sell for a loss. In my case, I've sold businesses in the past, but I always make sure the share price rises to the point where it's higher than my cost basis being the average price you bought the stock for. When the share price goes above your cost basis, that's when it would be wise to sell. In my case, I don't plan on selling. I'm in this one for the long haul. I really want to see what AI can do. I want to see what this business can do, especially when e-commerce and crypto takes off. And another thing I really didn't talk about in this is PayPal has talked about adding the ability for people like you and I to buy stock, to buy shares of our businesses, knowing they have a footprint in over 200 countries. I would be looking at adding that soon as well. I didn't see any news recently, but I think with everybody talking about AI, if that's where their focus is, I think that's great. But overall, I would love to hear your comments on this stock. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.